Welcome to a new episode of Cooking Technique Tuesday. I am still in Texas visiting family, so I had a member, though, ask about sauteing vegetables, so I thought I would do a really easy pasta primavera. So we're going to start actually with mushrooms. So as you can see, I've got a little bit of olive oil. It's a little spray bottle thing, and what I've done is I put this over medium-high heat. I can tell that it is nice and warm, so I've got my mushrooms. Alrighty. So these are a lot. This is probably more than I'm going to use, but I really like mushrooms. And usually what you don't want to do is necessarily overcrowd the pan. So I do want to see a little bit of space in between. Now, what I'm also going to do is let them sit. I know you're going to want to stir them immediately and often, but let them sit for a little bit. We're actually not going to salt it yet either. We don't necessarily want to draw out all the moisture and then have the moisture kind of retreat back into the mushrooms and evaporate off, and then we get the browning. We want to get the browning, and we want a good texture. So salting at the end actually gives mushrooms a better, less mushy texture. So I'm going to kind of let these sit for a good 45, 60 seconds, and then I am going to start to move them around. But I do want to make sure that they start to caramelize. So whenever we saute, roast, anything, really whenever foods start to brown, that's called the Maillard reaction. And that is when the natural sugars in there present start to cook. And it adds a lot of flavor without necessarily adding any calories. So as we're cooking, we're looking for that browning, the Maillard reaction. So I'm going to let these sit for a minute, and I'll be back in just a moment. All right, so I actually only turned this off 30 seconds ago. And as you can see, we're already getting some good browning. I know there's a few spots on these. I bought them 2 days ago, but they're not slimy, so they're fine. I tasted them, they taste good. But yeah, so we're getting a good brown on it already. So just keep an eye on it. Don't walk away. We don't want these to burn. So I'm going to give this about another 20 seconds or so. But I love mushrooms. They're one of my favorite things to cook and eat. I will saute them sometimes and just, have them as a snack. So, and what you want to do again, too, is you don't want to necessarily over-stir things, but I do want to get them kind of moved around. If you start to notice, one of them, maybe it's been sitting on the bottom for a while and you didn't get to it, you can flip it over like such so that both sides get nice and brown. All right, so I'm going to leave this alone again for a few minutes, or probably about a minute or so. So I'll see you here in a moment. All right, as you can see, we're getting some moisture coming out of these. We're also getting nice brown colors. So I'm just going to keep on, stir for a moment, let them sit. As you can see, they're already shrinking in size. They're letting a lot of water out as steam, and we're getting some good browning color. So I'm excited about this. I'm going to let this go for a couple more minutes. And then I'm going to add some salt, so I'll see you then. All right, so as you can see, a lot less steam than there was just a moment ago. And we've got some really nice color on these. So now I'm going to add my salt. Yes, I know it looks like a lot. I am a chef. Add as little or as much as you want. Really just salt to taste. So now I'm going to let the salt just kind of adhere to these mushrooms. I'm going to let them cook for about another minute, and then I got a bowl over here I'm going to set aside, and we are going to cook some eggplant. So these are basically done. I just want to make sure the salt gets all, into the mushrooms and whatnot. So I'll see you when we do the eggplant. All right, so in the same pan, I went ahead and put a little bit more olive oil sprayed down, and I have cubed my eggplant. I'll have to do another video on how to cut them, mostly just because I don't have my tripod stands and everything like that with me. So again, I've got this on about medium-high heat just to start off. I'm going to go ahead and put these in there. Now, the vegetables I'm using differ a little bit than the ones that they call for in the recipe. So I'm not really going to change that necessarily. I don't like peas. It's a texture and flavor thing. I didn't like the asparagus I saw. Also, it's not spring. But I do love eggplant. I love mushrooms. Really, for this pasta primavera, I'm just making it with the vegetables I enjoy. So I'm going to let these set again because we want to make sure we get some good browning in it. And I'm going to wait a little bit to salt these as well. So I will see you in about 45 seconds. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and toss these around a little bit. And as you can see, ooh, that way. Let me just get that. There we go. Nice. We're already getting a good browning. And I might put, actually, I think I will. I have to walk over to get it. But I'm going to put just a little bit more olive oil spray on this. Probably turn this down just a little bit. So I'm going to keep it on medium, I think, for right now. Pan is still hot from the mushrooms that I just did. So you just want to watch the temperature because we don't want anything to burn. So I'll see you in a moment. Alrighty, so these are close to done. I'm going to go ahead and salt. Let them cook for about another minute or two. So all of these vegetables cook pretty quickly. Mostly because I am not cooking them all in one pan. We always want to give our vegetables some space. So I'm going to let these cook for another minute or two. And then we're going to move on to squash and zucchini. See you then. Alrighty, so went ahead and cubed up my zucchini and my squash. And same principle. I put it in here, medium-high heat. So I'm going to let it sit for a moment. Probably a good 30-45 seconds. And then I'll start moving it around a little bit. But again, we want to get that browning going. So I'll see you in a moment. Alrighty, so I'm going to move these around a little bit. This will take a little bit longer to cook, which is no big deal. As you can see, we're not getting too much browning yet. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up some fresh parsley that we're going to put in there. I'm also going to cut up some grape tomatoes. I'm just going to slice them in half while these cook. So I'll see you in a moment. Alrighty, as you can see, we're starting to get some browning. So again, I'm just going to toss them every, minute or so. Add a little salt here in just a minute. And I really just want to cook these until they're softened. I do still want a little bit of a bite to these. So I'll see you in a moment. Alrighty, so I went ahead and added my tomatoes. I really just want them to wilt a little bit. I don't want them to be overly cooked, so I'm actually going to turn it off. I added a little bit of salt. So now what I'm going to do is off camera, a little bit of parsley, cook the pasta, and I will see you when the pasta is just about done. Alrighty, so all my vegetables are sauteed. I've got garlic now going. I'm going to add all the vegetables back in here, reheat them. I've got my salted water going. So, so I'm going to let this cook for a minute. I'm just going to throw the vegetables in here, and then I'll see you when I add the parsley and lemon juice. Alrighty, so the pasta just came out. I've added it. Whoop, there goes one. Whoopsie. It happens. I'll pick it up in a minute. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix this all together. And I also, and this is a good tip whenever you're cooking pasta, keep some water handy. As you can see, there's a lot of good starch in there. So I'm going to go ahead and just put about a third of a cup or so. And I'm going to let this all kind of heat together. Now the pasta I undercooked by about a minute because it's going to keep cooking in here. So we're heating up the veggies. Let me go ahead. I'm going to get the parsley and lemon juice and add it in here. And then we'll be done. And a little bit of Parmesan. Can't forget the Parmesan. Alrighty, so I've added the lemon juice, I've added the parsley, I've added some Parmesan, I've let it cook and kind of heat up a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and taste this. Yeah. Delish. The recipe didn't call for lemon juice, and again, I know I did different herbs instead of basil. I did parsley. Vegetables were all different, but this was just what I was in the mood for, to be honest. But the lemon juice does add a nice little bit of acidity. So, this is easy pasta primavera and showing you how to saute vegetables. So I will see you next Cooking Technique Tuesday.